But right now, what I want you to do is again, just raise your right hand this time. Wherever you are, don't be nervous. I'm not going to ask you to do anything that you don't want to do. And then put it on your left shoulder. Raise your left hand and put it on your right shoulder. And just kind of hug yourself. And just kind of transcend any thought forms about your unworthiness. Any thought forms about not good enough. Any thought forms about being unsupported by a universal presence. Any thought forms that would in any way not being in alignment with the absolute truth that you are cradled, enveloped, loved by a presence that's never an absence. And begin to breathe into a deep sense of worthiness. Breathe into a deep sense of self-love and appreciation. And be aware that as you're doing this, you're jogging your memory. The mystic chord of memory is being stirred into activity. And you are remembering that you are a one-of-a-kind, unique expression of infinite potential. That there's no one else exactly like you. That when the presence of the living God recreated itself after its own image and likeness and named itself you, who you are, it threw away the mold. For the presence of God doesn't do do-overs, nor does it repeat itself. It doesn't have to. It's infinite. So you are you, and there's only one you. And so if you heard me say over the years, if you don't do you, you won't be done. So your role is to do you so well that you shift your own history and come into the mystery of an unfolding soul that is always just getting started with brilliance and magnificence and generosity and kindness and love and wisdom and peace. That's who you are. So we enter into this service with the awareness that we matter, we're important, we're significant, that in truth, we are an exclamation point from the power and the presence and the love of God. We're not a question mark. We are an exclamation point for all that God is. For all that God is. And if you're new to the teachings here, we do not hold with the thought that God is a man in the sky somewhere. We have become keenly aware that the presence of God is just that. It's a presence of God that is never absent and is always, always being itself because it can't turn itself off. It is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So you're stepping into this awareness, this beginning of this service, with the awareness that you're significant, that you're one of a kind, you have a reason and a right to be here. And as the theme of the month would indicate, as a spiritual adept, spiritual practitioner, a lifelong learner, a perpetual student of sacred truth, you are here to allow for that which the world calls impossible to come into manifestation. Thus the theme is the possibility of the impossible. That's where we begin. As the image and likeness of God. We did not come here to have a comfort zone in the status quo. We came here to allow for our uncomfortability to be a disruption to our own comfort in the status quo so that we can expand our perception and constantly expand the paradigm of the entire human species based on the vibration that we are carrying. We come here to bring heaven to earth. That is, each and every one of us as being shot from the eternal presence, carrying everything that God is, are bringing heaven to earth. Remember, in the Greek language, the word heaven means expanded good. So you have come to bring expanded good. So you're at the point of a shift of paradigm. The old paradigm in religiosity used to be, I'm going to be good, and when I die, I'm going to go to heaven. That's a part of an old teaching that's now being wrapped up in a scroll, put in museums as thought forms that individuals used to believe in. Now we know something different. And the teacher, Jesus the Christ, even said it. He said the kingdom of heaven is at hand, you see. He knew it. And so we didn't come here to live in a vale of tears and then to go to heaven. We came to bring it. Just say to yourself, I came to bring heaven. And so the new paradigm that's now beginning to catch the minds and the hearts of millions of people around the globe is that we're bringing heaven, putting it on and then carrying it with us everywhere that you go. So you're not saying to yourself, well, this world is a messed up place, and there's hate, and there's lack, and there's poverty, and people are killing the rainforest, and homelessness, and I'll be glad when I go to heaven. No. That's like saying, I'm keeping my house messy. I don't make up my bed. I don't wash the dishes. I don't scrub my floors. I don't do anything. I'll be glad when I go to a bigger and better house. No, it don't work like that. You have come to take care of your business. That is, having a human incarnation, you are here to bring heaven here in vibration and in manifestation. So then, as you exit from body consciousness, you carry that expanded good everywhere you go. You put it on, and you take it with you. So the old is fading, the new is being born, and you've tuned in to a new thought, ageless wisdom, teaching that embraces the timeless, ageless, ancient teachings that were lost. They were apocryphal. People didn't get it 2,000 years ago, but they're getting it now and thinking it's new. But it's been here for so long, but now people are ripe, and they're able to catch this frequency. So, where do we start? With what's impossible. Now, for those of you who've been with us this month, you know you have a couple of assignments. And your assignments have been to begin to contemplate that which the world calls impossible and hold that particular space for that which seems to be impossible to be possible. You were to do it in two ways. One, your personal impossible dream, whatever that might be in your life, something that your mind says, I can't do that, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too black, I'm too white, I'm too straight, I'm too gay, I'm too trans, whatever, I'm too gender non-conforming, I'm too. Whatever the mind says that would be impossible for you, but you feel it's an urge that's becoming an urgency within you, you're to contemplate that and hold the space for that to be possible in your life. And then you were to take on something for the planet, something for the grand we. What is impossible? You know, people always talk about business as usual on the planet. Status quo will always be here. There'll always be homeless people. There'll always be people that strip mine the earth and tear up the rainforest. There'll always be. What can you hold that seems to be impossible right now, but that if you come together on a soul level, and if we come together on a soul level, we can actually make what appears to be impossible possible? That's where we start for those of us who are growing spiritually. And then how do we do that? Well, we know right now we're in a very tumultuous time, and we know now that many people's minds have been snagged by fear, doubt, and worry. That's called stagnation, and that becomes stagnation, which becomes a dimension of hell. That's what hell is. Hell is non-growth. Hell is stagnation. You see, heaven is expanding good. And so with the world being caught, as what I said a couple of months ago, to have taken a nightmare pill where fear, doubt, and worry has captured the minds and hearts, and even the mass media is feeding it to people on a regular basis, the lowest common denominator of the human experience, constantly being broadcast 24/7, constant negative news all the time, you see. So we got the big C of cancer, the big C of COVID. You know, we want the big C of compassion. You see, we want something else to start to flow. But with all of that happening, in order to transcend that dynamic, we have to see ourselves as being on a great adventure. Thus, the topic of today being Youoooo, your adventure of a lifetime. You got that? You got it. It's the high voice, okay? It's not Youoooo. It's Youoooo, your adventure of a lifetime. And so we take on the frequency of adventure. When we wake up in the morning, when we go to bed at night, we take on this frequency of an adventure. And you've all been on some kind of adventure from time to time. You've gone down a new path. You've gone hiking. You've learned a new instrument. You've learned to surf. You've learned to drive. You did something that as you were about it was adventurous to you. And something happens. You see, when you're on an adventure, you produce a different set of chemicals than you produce when you're on fear, when your mind is on fear and doubt and worry. When your mind is on fight and flight, There's one set of toxic chemicals, cortisol flowing through there, and all kinds of chemicals that would impugn the immune system, eliminate the coherence of the brain, open yourself up to more fear, doubt, and worry, anxiety, anxiousness, worst case scenarios. But when you're on an adventure, your frequency is raised. It's high. And you become available to obtain thoughts from inspiration, from the mind of God, which is called inspiration. You're able to catch a level of safety and wisdom and guidance because you're now on an adventure. My charge to you during these tumultuous times is that you begin to embrace that you're on an adventure. And that you're on an adventure and you are the first project. You are the project of your own adventure. The adventure is you. You have heard my teachings. The answer is you. Well, it's a subset of that. The adventure is you, which means you become your own project to see what condition within you is bringing into your life something you either like or don't like. What do I mean by that? In other words, when you look at the virus or any virus as an example, viruses can't create conditions. They go to conditions. They thrive in conditions. You see, so you have to ask yourself, the condition that's in me, what is it bringing into my life? You see, am I the condition for lack? Am I the condition for disease? Am I the condition for disharmony? Am I the condition for loneliness? Am I conditioned for more fear, doubt, and worry? You make yourself the project and you go on an adventure and you begin to check to see what you are a conditioned for. And when you begin to lift your vibration and frequency, you will obtain thoughts from the mind heart of the infinite, so to speak, and you will live with the cascade of chemicals from that inspired thought that will then transform your body. That high thought will be transmuted into chemicals, information going to the mitochondria of your cell. And your life will take on the tender and the timbre of a dynamic feeling tone that will allow you to become more and more impervious to dis-ease and disharmony. Something wonderful will begin to happen. Say to yourself, I'm on an adventure today. I'm on an adventure of prosperity. I'm on an adventure to assist to becoming a steward of the planet that we're stopping the strip mining and planting new forests. I'm on an adventure of cleaning up the oceans. I'm on an adventure of dismantling racism. I'm on an adventure of dismantling the prison industrial system the way it is. I'm on an adventure of justice. I'm on an adventure. So then all the issues that we're dealing with, you don't see them as ominous, nor do you live mainly in anger about them. Your adventure will begin to obtain thoughts of vision, and you'll begin to see possibility. You'll see open doors. You'll see yourself being guided and directed from on high as to how you are to participate in the adventure of transformation that's on the planet at this particular time in human history. Now, you've heard me say obtain thoughts. Why do we say that? Because you really don't think thoughts, you obtain them. And then, in other words, you obtain them from two different levels. You are either obtaining thought forms from the sea of mental garbage, or you are obtaining the thoughts emanating from the mind, heart of the spirit, and that's called inspiration. When an individual is inspired, then they've tapped into the quantum field where blueprints and prototypes of wholeness and well-being and joy and innovativeness and creativity exist. And suddenly, an individual is taken over by that inspiration. A new screenplay is written. A new book is written. A new invention comes forward. New choreography happens. New music takes place. New architecture is developed. New ways of expressing and bringing forth energy to the planet happens. You become inspired by the presence of God, you see? And so when we are the condition for negativity, then we draw from the sea of mental garbage. Those are thought forms that are emanating from a sense of separation. When people feel separate from God, the thought forms that emanate from them are thoughts, but they're vibrating at a lower frequency. You want to be a candidate to catch inspiration. You want to be a candidate for catching the thought emanating from the mind of God. You want to think God's thoughts, you see? And you do this by saying, I am on an adventure today. And my adventure includes breaking into the realm of what the world calls impossible. I will not settle for being in a comfort zone of the status quo, business as usual. That's not where I live. I did not take a human incarnation to waste the incarnation by things being the same when I leave. Did you hear that? I would not waste an incarnation by things being the same when I leave. In other words, you have to ask yourself, what difference is my vibration making on the planet? It doesn't have to be on the front of the newspaper. We're not talking celebrity. We're talking authentic, being integrated with your soul. So the vibrational imprint that you're leaving has a lasting effect on the planet, perhaps on your neighborhood, perhaps in your own house, you see. So that you're rising in that frequency. Oh, feel that right now. What condition is in you, and what is that condition bringing to you? Now, I've said it earlier, and I'll say it again, that when you look at certain diseases like viruses, they don't create a condition. They don't have that kind of intelligence. They find the condition that they can thrive in, and they multiply. So when you stay in the frequency of adventure, the frequency of joy, the frequency of love, the frequency of peace, the frequency of generosity, the frequency of compassion, the frequency of compassion and kindness, then you're apt to produce a cascade of chemicals that allow the body temple to vivify itself, regenerate itself, renew itself in a very powerful, powerful way. I recently told someone that their family member was a little ill, and I reminded them, I said, now when you go into her bedroom, you don't bring the family issues in there. You don't bring the family problems in there. You don't talk about that stuff. You're going into a bedroom of healing, and all you talk about is possibility. All you talk about is potentiality. All you talk about is love. All you talk about is peace. So that's all she's picking up on, so that she can regenerate her body temple, her mental body, and her emotional body. I want you to understand that we're in a period of vibrational shift. Planetary shift. And Reverend Leon told a story at our staff meeting this past week. He's working with the younger kids in our community. He'll be working with them this afternoon. And this girl is 7 years old, meaning she's been on the planet 7 years. She's an old soul, so she's like more than 7 years old. She's just been in the body for 7 years. But he would say that she tunes into the class, and then she tunes into me, then she tunes into the class. So she probably heard me talking about her earlier. And she doesn't say much. She just kind of peeks her head over the computer, so all you can see is a little bit of her nose and her eyes. But at the end of the class, she has a tendency to say something or to ask for prayer, and then she wants to pray. And so last week, she said, Reverend Leon, I want prayer for my parents. They're not taking the planetary shift too well. They're not taking the planetary shift too well. She understood that there's a planetary shift going on, that there's a crumbling of a certain way of thinking, and there's emerging of another way of thinking, and we're in a high state of confusion, meaning both are being occupied in our consciousness at the same time, and that's called a high state of consciousness, when the old is dying and the new is being born. And she says, my parents aren't taking it too well. Are you? Are you taking the planetary shift well, or have you got caught into stagnation? If you got caught into fear, if you get caught into worry, if you're not taking the planetary shift too well, this talk is for you, that you may step into the high vibration of being on an adventure. It's just spiritual practice. It's just another dimension of spiritual practice. You wake up, I'm on an adventure today. I'm on an adventure watching my body heal. I'm on an adventure of watching prosperity flow into my life regardless of the news and the lie of lack. I said the news and the lie of lack. The news and the lie of lack. Lack is a lie because we live in a multi-dimensional unfolding cosmos of pure energy that never runs out. Lack does not exist except in belief, perception, thought form, and experience. But when you transcend that, Then suddenly, incrementally, doors open, opportunity shows up, ways are made out of no ways to create a vibrational match with what you are feeling. Oh, just ask yourself, any particular dimension that you want to work on, just say you're on an adventure in that particular area, and then watch your life change, and then be aware that things are in flux, of course. And then understand that you're to pay attention to your path more than your past. Stay true to your path, not your past. In other words, we're on a pathless path of unfolding good, and you're paying attention to your path every single day with your spiritual practices, your intentionalities. You're being on an adventure, and then you discover that you are less and less reacting to the past, and you're more and more being pulled by your intentionality in this particular moment. I want you to feel. I want you to feel what I'm saying. I want you to catch this. Close your eyes for a moment. And begin to see yourself as an adventurer. See your body posture when you're on an adventure. See how you're walking. See how you're breathing. See how you're talking. Just see yourself being on an adventure. You've heard me speak about this over the years. Even the CD Adventure in Paradise speaks to this. That particular track number 1 on the Transcendence. I'm on an adventure of paradise and I'm taking you with me. See how you're walking and talking. Lock that into your awareness. See how you're breathing. When you wake up in the morning, to the best of your ability, step into that frequency. Step into that vibration. And say in substance, you can take any area of your life. I'm on an adventure of prosperity. I'm on an adventure of healing and wholeness. I'm on an adventure of joy. I'm on an adventure of love. I'm on an adventure of peace. Not I'm fighting against lack. I'm fighting against loneliness. That would lead to an addictive personality. No, I'm on an adventure of something. Then you will obtain thoughts called inspiration from the presence. And your life will be different. Now, we're living in a very interesting time. I've just described it. This is the beauty about this interesting time. It's ripe for enlightenment. Why? Because you can't be on autopilot. Because you don't know what's going to happen next. The news is going to say something in the morning, and by night they're going to contradict themselves. There's going to be this, that. There's so many things going on, so many events happening around the globe, so many things happening in your own neighborhood, so many things happening in the city, so many things happening. You can't be on autopilot, so that means you have to be present. You have to be present with what is, so you're responding from a higher frequency. And if you're being present with what is and responding from a higher frequency, you're now getting closer to a sense of enlightenment, a sense of awakening, because you're not on autopilot anymore, just drifting through your incarnation, seeking to stay anti-bored until you die. No. Are you following what I'm saying? I can feel you. I can feel you. I know you're following it. I can follow it. So think about little 7-year-old Kirikou saying, pray for my parents. They're not taking the planetary shift too well. Pray for yourself. We're in a planetary shift. But all you're going to lose is your inhibitions. All you're going to lose are the blinders keeping you from seeing the presence of God. Because one thing for sure, and I know this for sure, you will never die. It doesn't exist. Death is a doorway to another room. So if you can walk, I'm not saying do anything crazy. I'm not saying be a daredevil because you're not. No, I'm not saying don't waste your incarnation with that. But when you can get that you are an eternal being and you're here to bring eternity into time, heaven to earth, not just go to heaven, but to bring heaven, walk with the sense of adventure, when you can get that, then you'll understand what you is all about. In other words, you'll use these spiritual principles to become personally successful, but that's just the beginning. That's not the end game. Sometimes people teach that as the end game. You know, I'm going to get my body together. I'm going to get my mind together. I'm going to get my relationships together. I'm going to get some money. I'm going to get a car. I'm going to get a house. Woo, I made it. No. It has to go to Weeee. Meaning, once you have personal success, you have to think planetary success. You have to think how you're going to affect the planet, how you're going to serve your humanity, how you're going to serve sentient beings, how you're going to serve other species, how you're going to serve the earth, how you're going to serve the oceans, how you're going to serve the forest, how you're going to serve something outside of yourself and your own kin. That's real success. The beginning of success is making sure your stuff is together so you have something to give. You can't give from an empty cup. So you have to demonstrate some level of prosperity, some level of health, some level of well-being, some level of self-love and appreciation. That's the beginning. Real success happens when it is shared, when it is given, when it is circulated. That's called generosity. And that tea tastes really good, by the way. That's a good tea. Poverty doesn't taste too good, you see. I'm hearing somebody say, what about brevity, Beckwith? I'm going to stop soon. I'm going to stop. I got some things to say here. Okay. I'm hearing Carl Anderson. Carl Anderson used to say, remember the 4 B's. Be brief, brother, be brief. I can hear him saying that right now. Carl, get out of here. Teach me to sing. Don't teach me to speak. Now, so where was I? I was right here. So in essence, you have everything that you need. You've received everything. You have to unpack it. You have to open it up. You have to share it. You have to shine it. You're on in a great, mighty adventure. And I just need to say this one thing, that I'm not saying that the practice is easy. You'll never hear me say that. Because there are condensed thoughts that have become moods. And they become cyclical within you. There are condensed thoughts and past beliefs and beliefs that you've held that show up as symptoms in the body or show up symptoms in your relationships, and they're giving you feedback that something's a little interesting in your life. I'm not saying that it's easy to just do this, but I'm saying if you do it when it's not easy, it's like lifting weights in a weight room. It's like holding an asana for a longer period of time in order to develop the flexibility and the strength that you need. In other words, when the project is you, what are you doing? You are building up your capacity to hold more life energy so that the cosmic energy that never runs out, that wants to flow through you, you're able to hold it. You're able to hold it. You're able to hold that frequency. And you're able to hold that frequency even when the world of phenomena seems to be going crazy. You have developed the capacity to hold the cosmic energy of joy, to hold the cosmic energy of peace and of love and generosity and creativity and dynamic good, not just asking to be blessed, but asking to be a blessing. That's where you go ultimately from Youoooo, take care of you, and then you go into the Weeee. And once you go into the Weeee for real, now we're talking success. Now we're talking success. There are many people that have gotten themselves together. They have enough money, enough cars, enough houses, but they haven't gone into the Weeee yet. They're not successful people yet. The soul is still atrophied. Even though the world that has placed celebrity on the throne and taken wisdom off would say that they're successful. Not us! That's the beginning stage of success. Until a difference is made on the planet for the Weeee, it's not success yet. We want to be successful. Successful. Have our stuff together. Be healthy, prosperous, happy. But then, how can I be a blessing? How can I be a blessing? Let me be a blessing. Every single day, let me be a blessing. Let me be a blessing. And I will have to admit, sometimes I'll say, more? What am I doing today? But ultimately, it's, let me be a blessing. There you have it. There you have it. The possibility of the impossible. No comfort, in the status quo, bringing heaven to earth, not just going to a destination called heaven, but bringing it and taking it with you everywhere you go. Youoooo! Adventure of a lifetime, you see. We stand taking an adventure. Changes the cascade of chemicals moving through the body temple, making us available to divine inspiration. We get our personal life together. That's the beginning of success. And then we ask, how can I be a blessing to the grand we? That's real success. And now what are you? You're happy. You're happy. Once you become a blessing, your happiness is perpetual. It's forever. Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to stop. I really am. But I'm going to tie two things together. Your happiness is perpetual and your bliss becomes perpetual. Because your potential is activated and you're a blessing for more than just yourself. That's a life to live. That's a life to live. And I need to say, you can start right where you are. Right where you are. You can start right now. Right this moment. Right this moment. Right this moment. The little joy in your life, a little kick in your step, a little movement, a little celebration.